As of the date I'm recording this video, there are a total of 132 champions in League of Legends. But I pose this question to you. Could you personally name your top 5 champions, the 5 champions that you are best at? The 5 champions that maybe, if you're in a ranked game, you're in your promos, those go-to champions you say, I want to win, I'm going to pick one of these champions, one of my best champions, and I'm going to carry the game. Now there are going to be a wide variety of responses to that question. Some people may have just one champion they're really good at, maybe a one-trick pony. That's okay if that works for you. Some people may play loads of different champions, play like 20 different champions. But I've got to say, if you are having trouble answering that question, what you're basically doing is when you're going into ranked games, you're actually putting yourself at a disadvantage from the champion select. Because you don't have those 5 champions or those few champions that you're like really comfortable on, that you can pick if you just want to win the game, if you just want to win your lane. It's really good to have those champions that you're comfortable on, because when you're comfortable with the champion's mechanics and how to play that champion and every matchup with that champion, you can much more focus on the decision making within the game and like how to win the game itself, and not just on how you play in your own champion. Now I'm sure a pretty common answer for this is that you don't have a top 5 champions, but what you tend to do is counter pick a lot of the time. So if the enemy picks like a Gnar for instance, you're going to pick Yasuo, you're going to counter that Gnar, you're going to try and beat him in lane with a counter pick. Whilst this is all well and good, that's going to leave you picking a very wide variety of champions, and you're not going to be the best, you're not going to be like a really good player at any of those champions. You might just be like quite good at some of them. And this really brings me to my first point. If you're picking loads of different champions in ranked, you're actually setting yourself back from achieving your full potential, because you can't really focus on the game if you're focusing on a champion's mechanics. And you may not think you are, but if you pick in a fairly new champion, it's guaranteed you are, or there's going to be some tricks you're going to miss with that champion in general. So my first tip is that if you have a smaller pool of champions, and I say about 5 or 6, definitely less than 10 champions in your pool, you'll have much more skill with those champions after you play them for several games each, and you're more comfortable on them, and you know all the matchups, you'll be really comfortable on them, so you'll have more skill on them than the average player, and honestly this will bring you more wins in the long run. That even if you go into a bad matchup with them, you'll know how to deal with it, you'll be comfortable with it, and you'll be able to still outplay the enemy, even though you're in a bad matchup, for example. And the next question I'm going to ask you is that if you know your top 5 champions, I've got to ask you, are those champions similar? I know for me personally, there's a time where basically all my best champions were basically Rammus, Hecarim, Udyr, all really similar champions. The kind of champions where you just like run the enemy down, and they were very linear. And what I sort of realised in the end was that I didn't play around warding very well. So I could sort of identify that in my gameplay, and I've actually sort of fixed it now to a degree. So what you can actually do is that if those 5 champions are similar, you can try and identify what their playstyle is. Are they tanks that just go in, like you like engage champions, or maybe you only like playing like mages or something like that, like long range mages. You'll be able to identify that that's one thing that you're particularly good at, but it may be that you're lacking in other areas, that you don't perform as well in other champions. The next thing I want to say is that if you're really dedicated to trying to climb elo and get to a higher rating, playing loads of different champions is actually going to slow that climb for you. If you think about it, you get a lot of one-trick ponies up in Master, up in Challenger. Everyone's seen like the Riven, the Box, like Adrian Riven, all those Riven players. You get like Shaco and the one-trick Shacos. Even like, I think the number 1 Challenger, Arc Second, is basically a one-trick Diana. He only plays like very few champions. Playing fewer champions in solo queue is just proven to be better in general in the long run. If you know how to play that champion against basically every other champion in the game, you're going to be so effective in almost every game, and you're going to know how to be useful in every game. Whereas if you pick a champion you're not that comfortable with, or you don't play very often, you might miss a lot of things that you might not even realise you're doing badly with the champion, but you might be missing out on a lot of that champion's potential basically. So to close out this video, I would say if you don't have a top 5 champion list already, or if your top 5 champion list is full of very similar champions, it might be worth trying to focus on a few champions and try and make that list for yourself. I'd say within this list you want to have a couple of different things, so you have a couple of different champions to go to, like at least 1 AP, at least 1 AD, maybe a tank and like a marksman, like an ADC or something, and a mage. Just so you have a bit of variety in there, you have a lot of different things you can go to. And I've got to ask you, if you know you're in top 5, put in the comments below what your top 5 is. You guys can compare below in the comments, I guess. and hopefully I'll see you for the next video.